carer of the fanatics, karma, activities. Translation. Meditation and the study of Vedanta are the sole duties of a sannyasi. Why do you abandon these to dance with fanatics? Prabhu, as explained in regard to verse 41, Mayavadi sannyasis do not approve of chanting and dancing. Bhaktisananda Saraswati, like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, misunderstood Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be a misled young sannyasi, and therefore he asked him why he indulged in association with fanatics instead of executing the duty of a sannyasi. It's interesting to actually compare with the sloka yesterday, because the word fanatics is also used. Text 68 was, you are a sannyasi, then why do you indulge in chanting and dancing, engaging in your secular movement in the company of fanatics? And today was meditation and study, Vedanta, the sole duties of a sannyasi. Why do you abandon these to dance with fanatics? That would be very fanatical about not chanting and dancing with fanatics. So the Mayavadis, as we can see, were casting aspersions on the validity of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his practices as a sannyasi. They knew that he came from a good line of sannyasi, disciplic succession, that he got his sannyasi order, initiation of Kesava Bharati, a very reputable sage. And in Jagannath Puri, when he went there, he took association of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, but they actually knew that, of course, Sarvabhauma was renowned in South India as being one of the foremost scholars in Mayavadi philosophy and grammar, but somehow or other, by his mystic potency or something, he converted Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya into a Vaishnava. So, but still, now he'd come to Varanasi, he was not associating with any Mayavadi sannyasi, and association is very important because you've got to discuss the commentaries and discuss each word and sort of juggle each word to see all the possible meanings that there could be, so you needed a whole group of people to do that, but he was avoiding their association, not studying the Shastras with them, and he was encouraging this sort of emotional thing. This was the chanting and dancing was all about emotion, and for a sannyasi, sobriety is the key factor. Just they could even quote the Bhagavad Gita, where in Bhagavad Gita it says the qualities of a Brahman, sannyasi, Brahman, samadana, tapasucham, shanti, ajrameva bha. So samadana, equanimity, religiousness, sobriety, tapa, all illusion, tapa, austerity, cleanliness, peacefulness. But it just seemed like there was a lot of, what do you call, trukshma, a lot of commotion. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu created commotion everywhere he went, and that was, hey, settle down, why are you creating this commotion here? Because they had no understanding. Of course, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because this, in Bhagavad Gita, these qualities of a Brahman, they were sort of according to the Varna ashram order of society. So these were the qualities that all these sannyasis were emulating. But then when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was talking with Ramananda Roy, and he was asking Ramananda, what is the goal of life? And the first thing that Ramananda Roy said, well, the goal of life is to follow Varna ashram strictly. And Sri Chaitanya said, no, that's just secondary, there is higher goals than that. And then, of course, Ramananda, in his discussion, began to describe that so it's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it's the highest order, and then more than that. So that was another discussion, very wonderful discussion. But what it proved was that Varnashram was just like, that was just a part, well, it's a sort of orderly system of society. But it's to do with the three modes of material nature. So, because these Mayavadi sannyasis had totally misunderstood what Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was presenting in his philosophy that was the highest realm, they were criticising. So it's very common that if you don't understand something, you criticise it. What is he doing? Why are they doing this? So the devotees in Kazi, Tapana Mishra and Chandrasekhar, they were quite disturbed, because you always get disturbed when you hear criticism of a great Vaishnava, spring personality of Godhead. They try to defeat the Mayavadis, but the Mayavadis are very slippery, because when you say, oh well, as Krishna declares in Bhagavad Gita that Aham Savasya Bhagavan, Supreme Personality of Godhead, they say, oh, Bhagavad Gita, that's just a secondary shastra, it's not important. In the Puranas, it says this, and no, Puranas is the secondary shastra. Sarat Bhashya is the most important one. Right? So Sarat Bhashya, as we know, was written by Lord Shiva's incarnation of Sankaracharya, and he left out a lot of things, left out so many things, and he just more or less focused on the fact that the Supreme Impersonal is the way to go in line with Buddhist philosophy, because that was his job, to lure the Buddhists back to the study of the Vedas. And therefore they were very slippery, and the devotees could not actually defeat their philosophy. They were becoming more and more frustrated. So Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, out of mercy to his devotees and to save these arrogant, illusion Mayavadis, accepted invitation. So yesterday's sloka was dealing with Trinad Pisana China, that's Lord Chaitanya's words himself, that more humble than the blade of grass, low in the straw in the street, torn from the tree. So very, very humble with humility. He waited till the arrangement came where he accepted the invitation where all these sannyasis were there. So he went there in all humility. He sat just in the corner of this Brahmana's, what was a large house, and he sat near where there's place where everybody washes their feet. So that was the humility that was being shown by Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. He had the superior philosophy. He could have said, well, these Mayavadis, they're totally wrong, they're defeating my devotees, let's barnstorm them, okay, let's have it out, let's have this philosophy out, give me your best shot, I'll trash your arguments. Oh, he's Supreme Personality of Godhead. That was another way of doing it. Sometimes devotees feel like that when somebody starts preaching impersonalist philosophy, you feel like hitting them on the head with the Bhagavad Gita. In the Bhagavad Gita it says that Krishna is God, how dare you go against that. So there's different ways of presenting the philosophy. So this was the approach of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. This is the approach he had with other philosophers too, just like we were talking about Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya when he saw him in the sloka in purport. Srila Prabhupada said that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya thought that this young sannyasi is being misled. He's chanting and dancing with all emotion here. I'll teach him the Vedanta philosophy. So he sat him down in his house, and for how long was it? 7 days. 7 days he preached the Vedanta philosophy, personal philosophy. Now how painful, I'll tell you how painful it is in a minute. But Sri Caitanya just sat through it humbly and just listened out of respect, because he was an exalted scholar, great sage. And at the end of it, he said, he didn't say anything. What is it? He said, well, I can understand the Vedanta Sutra perfectly, but the way you present it, it's just like the clouds that come over and it's all become muddled. I said, what are you talking about? And then, of course, Sri Caitanya Prabhu explained the Vedanta Sutra from the Vaishnava aspect, where every word in the Vedanta Sutra led to Krishna, the three personality Godhead. And I can't remember how many days he spoke to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, but at the end of it, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya paid his obeisance, has become a great Vaishnava. So that was the humble approach. Also with Kashmiri Pandit, he was another foremost scholar. He had the blessing of Goddess Saraswati, Goddess of Learning. She gave him full blessing that yes, you are the greatest Pandit on this earth right now as we speak, mortal. So he was going around sort of looking for a fight. Who wants to debate with me? And as soon as he came to a town, everybody would leave, all the Pandits would leave, nobody wanted to debate with him. So similarly, when he came to Navadvip, Nimai Pandit, so Lord Chaitanya Prabhu was only like what, 12, 13, I don't know, very young. He was already called a Pandit, Nimai. So he knew this Kashmiri Pandit was puffed up and he was coming. So he didn't want to actually completely break him in a direct confrontation. So he just sat there by the banks of the Ganga one evening around sunset, and Kashmiri just walking along, going for a walk, and he come across Nimai. Nimai greeted him, you're the famous Kashmiri Pandit. He said, oh, you must be Nimai, you heard about him. All the other Pandits had fled. Another week, just let Nimai there, he'll be right, he'll handle him. And Nimai said, oh, you're such a wonderful orator, so much. Please recite some verses about the Ganga. And he started talking about the glories of the Ganga, one verse after another verse. And before he knew it, he'd rattled off 100 poetic verses about the glories of the Ganga. And everybody was just stunned at the erudite knowledge and the beautiful poetry that he sort of spoke. And I thought, wow. And then Nimai goes, that was very, very nice, but in the 51st verse, you said this and this, and it was a double meaning. You repeated the same word twice, and then in the 83rd verse, you also made some grammatical error like that. Of course, the Pandit just rattled off the verses. He couldn't remember the verses he rattled off. And then, he was stunned at how Nimai could remember all this. He said, but, you've just come from a long travel. You must be tired. We'll debate again tomorrow. We'll come back tomorrow. You'll feel all right. So then he was absolutely shattered. And Nimai Pandit knew that this had happened, and if he lost face in front of all his disciples and everything, it's likely that he'd commit suicide or completely be destroyed. So he went back that night and he was praying to Saraswati, and she appeared in his dreams saying that you've just encountered the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, and he became his devotee. So this is how he did it, very tactfully. So similarly in this situation, he was sitting there next to the shoes and the water, and then Prakasananda Saraswati, it said that he began to, Sri Chaitanya's mystic poses, he began to glow like a million moons, so the presence was just overwhelming. So Prakasananda, the leader of the Mayavadis, come and said, why are you sitting there? What you're a young great sannyasi, why are you sitting there? He said, well, I've been initiated into a lesser line, Keshavarati line, and all these exalted devotees here, so I'm sitting in my rightful place. So then Prakasananda took him by the hand. That was like, what great service there, that you take Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by the hand and lead him to a greater seat. So that was this great moment in his life that he performed this wonderful devotional service. And we know that we know that saying that when you perform devotional service to Krishna, it's like a hook Krishna hooks himself into and he won't let go. So now, Prakasananda is asking him all these things. His line of question is that you come from a exalted line of disciplic succession, that's the disciplic succession delineates the path to moksha, which is study of Sarira Bhashya and commentaries on Vedanta Sutra, and this is the line, our succession practices, and you're deviating from this line. Of course, this line, this sort of path is very, very difficult and very arduous. Very sort of unsavoury, sort of. There's no nectar in it. It's sort of, my Bhakti part is like breaking down the verses. You analytically study what's called the Nama Shastra, and in the Nama Shastra you apply the practice Siddhanta, and Siddhanta means you get the verse, you study the verse before it, you study the verse in front, in context with the other two verses, and then you study all the words that they might have double meanings, and you discuss each word with everybody else, and it turns into a whole, what we say, word jugglery, right? You discuss all the different possible meanings that verse could have, verse after verse after verse. Of course, the ultimate goal is to come up with the fact that Lord has no form, this world is not real, it's just all illusory, jaga mithya. So that's the sort of indirect meaning behind all these verses, and the supposition has come to the conclusion that the only real thing is Brahman. So that's like a comparative study of all the scriptures. It's very tiring. It's all tiring talking about it. But Srila Prabhupada in his literatures gave the direct opposite meaning. So that in the Vaishnava literatures, it's like Srimad Bhagavatam, the cream of all the Vedic literatures, talks about one topic only, that's shedding light on the glories of bhakti, directly and indirectly. So the Srimad Bhagavatam not only does that, but it's poetic, it flows, and it's actually very, very joyful. It becomes very attractive to the ears. Parikit Maharaj, when he was hearing it from Sukadeva Goswami, I don't know which verse it is, the Panditjis might be able to help me, but Parikit explained to Sukadeva that my ears never cease to hanker to hear about the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. So, just hankering to hear that. So, in that mood, Parikit Maharaj heard the Srimad Bhagavatam attentively for 7 days from Sukadeva Goswami, and became liberated. So similarly, when Agnidev Prabhu was here, he gave us the example that we also have 7 days to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam. We have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And one of those days, we're also going to die. But it mightn't be this particular week, might be the week after, right? But on one of those days also, we have 7 days, so we have a bit longer. So we can study this Bhagavatam, and we find that the pathway of the Bhagavatam is service to Krishna. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is there to guide us about the spirit of understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the path of bhakti, path of devotional service that is always there. So, Srimad Bhagavatam, it's the book of knowledge also, that it gives us all these details, but it is not like we read a book like a brochure, like an encyclopedia or just some factual information, like we want to go to India, we sort of read a brochure and we read about the temples in India, how interesting they are, how they were carved, where they were built, the food that's there, the transport, the trains, the culture. Will I get sick? The brochure. Of course you will get sick eventually if you go to India, and you don't experience India until you do get sick. That's one of the experiences of India. There's a sukha and a dukkha, the happiness and the distress. So that's all there in the Bhagavatam, all that knowledge is there, because in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains Yanam Teham Vijnanam, that I'll give you both knowledges, nominal and phenomenal, that I'll give material knowledge, spiritual knowledge, practical knowledge, all that knowledge is there. But ultimately, the ultimate knowledge is knowledge of the self. the real self. So like in chapter 9, Bhagavad Gita, Raja Vidyam, Raja Guyam, Pavitram Idam Uttamam, that Pachagam Samyam Suskam Katamavayam, that beautiful verse that says that this knowledge is the king of education, it's secret of all secrets, it is the perfect knowledge, most perfect knowledge, because it gives perception of the self by direct realization. It is everlasting, and Susakam Kata Bhavyam, what does that mean? Ayam. Susakam Kata. Any idea? Lasting. Carry notes. Thank you very much. Joyfully performed. So, that's the process of Bhakti Yoga. So on one hand, you have the process of Mayavadism, which is a very, very long pathway up there to what? Eradicating illusion, so you can take a tip of the toe of the Supreme Lord, this Brahman. So, Brahma Samhita, what's that line in the Brahma Samhita that the yogis, they're aspiring to see the tip of the toe of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. That's the Brahman coming out from the Lord, the tip of the toe. So, so therefore, the direct perception of the self by realization, then it begins with service to Krishna. So, service to Krishna, in the early days, one of our main services was book distribution, that we go out and we try to disseminate this knowledge from the books. And a lot of the time when somebody came up that was looking for the truth, we often get the line that the truth, the real knowledge, is not in the book, it's in the heart, or it's the light that's coming, it's from within, it's not in the book. Has anybody ever told you that line? Knowledge can't be in the books, that you have to realise this knowledge somehow or other way. So, as an answer to that, we have a book of life that we all have our own book of life where we're outlining all our different experiences that we have, our different beliefs, and somewhere in that book of life we have to take instruction from the authorities, just like Ajit Prabhu was describing yesterday, that like if we have a stomach ache, and then all the debates will come up and say, well, you should take this, and you should take this, and I'll give you this medicine. Ganga's got a whole shelf of medicines there in his cupboard there. He's been here how long? 1 month, and he's got like a whole dispensary there of the different medicines that were given that he should take. So it's like that very kind sentiments, but they actually, the person giving is not a doctor, it's not a qualified person. He can, be good, might help, but still there's always different options there. So it's best to hear from a doctor. So similarly, we have Sukadeva Goswami speaking Srimad Bhagavatam to Pariksit Maharaj. So Sukadeva, he was on the transcendental platform. He had direct realization, and so he heard it from Maharaj Pariksit, and so he heard from Maharaj Pariksit. He heard it from Vyasadeva. So he was in the womb, and Srila Vyasadeva was speaking Srimad Bhagavatam to his wife and Maharaj, and Sukadeva, he listened, and he also was on the path of impersonalism until he heard it. That's why he didn't want to come out of the womb. How long was he in the womb for? It's almost inconceivable that he was in the womb of his mother for like 16 years, and he wouldn't come out. Imagine? So then when he heard the Srimad Bhagavatam, he came out and he just left. He was self-realised. And his father's going, son, come back. That's a sort of classic That's the thing I remember about the Srimad Bhagavatam the most in the first chapter. Sukadeva heard it, left the womb and just started walking, and his father's chasing him, and he's going down the bank of a river, and there's all these young ladies bathing in the river there, and Sukadeva walks past. They didn't take any notice because they understood that he was totally beyond modes of material nature. And then his father comes chasing after him, son, son. As soon as they saw him, they all covered their clothes, but they saw. And then of course Sukadeva kept walking until he came to a clearing. There's all these great sages there. And he walked into the clearing, and then everybody stood up and paid their obeisances and asked him to sit on the Vyasa and speak the Srimad Bhagavatam. Because they could tell that he was self-realised like that. So, and of course when he spoke the Srimad Bhagavatam, then he embellished it, said like a parrot, just like a parrot eats the mangoes. Sometimes the parrots are overzealous, they get into the mangoes and then the mangoes fall down. And if you see that they ripen the mango quickly, and the mango is very, very tasty, it's come from the top and it's ripened, the ripened fruit. So similarly, when you hear from Sukadeva Goswami along the disciplic succession, you're hearing from the authorities. And that is something that helps you fill your page of the book of life when you hear something that's definitive from the acharyas. So therefore you can say to that person who said, well, knowledge is in the book, he said, you don't know that, you haven't read the book. First of all, read the book, and then you can make the conclusions, therefore take the book. And sometimes you have that comment, well, you know, if God wants me to take the book, then I'll take it. Believe me, God wants you to take this book. So therefore that books are the basis. Like Srila Prabhupada's always, we have that saying, books are the basis to help you get onto that path of bhakti yoga. So Srimad Bhagavatam describes Dhamma Prajita Devo Janamatsaranam Saratam, that this knowledge kicks out all the cheating religions. What are the cheating religions? The ones that deal with the three modes of material nature, which is exactly Mayavadi philosophy. All the Shrutis and the Smritis. Narada Muni described to Vasudeva, he said, you've written all this down, because the basis of Mayavadi philosophy is what Vyasadeva wrote. There's Shrutis and Smritis, but they deal with the three modes of material nature. So you just sort of, the Mayavadi philosophy just speculating about different modes of material nature, and ultimately they might get to that lowest form of liberation, which is mukti, which is merging in the effulgence of the Lord, but it's only temporary. They can't stay there because there is nothing there. It's just like this merging, this liberation described like you have a green parrot in a green tree. So I'm looking at the green tree and I'm thinking of the king parrots. They come once a year and they eat the berries there, and you hear this squawking, but you can't see where the parrot is because it's a green parrot in a green tree. So, but you can hear the squawking. So let's compare the living entity, that he's in the Brahmayodi, and he's trying to merge with the Brahmayodi, but he's still going, not happy here, to something else, come back to form pious activities, and come back to them. So anyway, this, so Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, he already manifested, he, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his purpose was to establish love of Godhead, Krishna consciousness, via the means of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And when he exhibited these symptoms of love of Godhead, it was way beyond what the Mayavadis could understand. He was manifesting the highest symptoms of ecstasy. And because the Mayavadis have been misled by the philosophy of Shankaracharya, they did not understand that there's Brahmati Paramatmati, Bhagavan subjective, that beyond the Brahman is the Paramatma, and then there's Bhagavan realization, which is the natural constitution of the living entity. And the Bhagavan realization is the path to that is devotional service. So, very humbly and diligently, once again, Lord Caitanya, he sat down with these Mayavadi philosophers, and when they asked him, why do you do this, he began to explain Vaishnava philosophy to them, and he also converted all of those people into Vaishnava. So that's the philosophy that Lord Caitanya is going to expound in these later verses here. They're very, very exciting verses in this wonderful chapter. So, Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu is well versed in the Shastra, and it's also recommended by our spiritual master. We become well versed in the Shastra so we can understand. So when we deal with all the many Prakasananda Saraswatis that come up, so with all humility we can take their philosophy, play with it, dismantle it, and put them back together again on the right path. And that is the process of Krishna consciousness, and that is our endemic duty as devotees to spread the Vaishnava philosophy in this manner. Are there any questions or comments?
Thank you. We see the traditional Mayavadis are also great jnani. They have so much knowledge, and it's difficult to defeat them. Unless you're very learned yourself. But in the West, we see the Mayavadis in the West are not that learned. They're all just impersonalists. So how do you preach to an impersonalist, or have a discussion with impersonalists without having jnana?
Okay, so it's the same thing again, because once again you can't quote Bhagavad Gita or you can't quote Srimad Bhagavatam, because they haven't really digested it. They will tell you that reading is futile, whatever, they're going on their own personal experience. So there's different ways. You have to sit down and talk with them first of all. It's sort of one way is to establish the fact that there is a God, that there is a creator. It's called, you can talk about the first level of intelligent design, that you look around, this is all happening by the power of some greater force, all the seasons, all the rains, all the everything you see, all the bird life, even your own body that you have no control is growing all around you. How did that all happen? It's a wonderful phenomenon. So you can go that line and explain that there's a creator, and if there's a creator, then there's a set of rules, just like if you create a motor car, or create, these days we create all these little microchips and computers and everything like that, but there's a whole lot of people doing it, the iPhone 11 or whatever, there's a lot of people creating it. So there's the creation, there's always there. If you create a material object, then there's also large created on a large scale. So if you establish that, then there's a set of rules that go with this. If you break down, you take it to somebody, the genius bar in Rabin, a picture of iPhone 11, but they've got a set of rules, they've got, that they know. So similarly, there's a set of rules. So we point them in the direction of the Shastra, that actually the Shastra, ultimately it's got to go to the Shastra, that they've got to accept the Bhagavad Gita, they've got to accept the Bhagavatam. They just can't, they won't accept the fact that you're telling them, because you're just a person. So where that is coming from, is coming from a high authority. So there's two ways of getting knowledge. One is ascending knowledge and one is descending knowledge. So what the people in general in the West are trying to do, they're trying to obtain ascending knowledge. That's why they come down and they want the experience of fire and the full moon, where they howl at the full moon together, and it's a sort of spiritual experience. Or they want to go to a solstice there in the jungles of South America and experience eclipse of the sun or something like that, and then they sort of sit there and they fast, they do arduous fast. So it's all coming from within, it's all to do with their experience. But that experience is due to the fact that they're defective. Human beings are defective, they've got defects, they make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. They're subject to illusion. They think this is the path, and then somebody else goes up, no, this is the path, oh yes, I was wrong. Subject to illusion, make mistakes, cheating propensities, they get cheated. There's so many, we just see that there's so many sort of cheating gurus, you know, self-styled gurus, that if they stay for too long, and sort of they manifest in the village, and then they'll give you their instruction, what their spin on life is. So there's so much of all that. So that's partial to ascending knowledge. Best place to take descending knowledge and read the book. That is the best path to take. That's all I would say.
I guess if that fails, you can always give them a prashad.
Oh, prashad is a start. It's always a great, breaks the ice, get addicted to prashad. But ultimately it's got to come to, they want to make any advancement on the path of spiritual life, they have to accept that, you know, the descending chain of disciplic succession. It's a big bridge to cross, it's a challenge. But as we can see, we're all these fresh-faced devotees here, and so many people are interested. So people are interested in spiritual life, are interested in the truth. A lot of people come to the village and they, you know, want to experience this, and that's all material sort of experiences. And they hover around by the passion and goodness, you know, and try to do good things. But ultimately, a lot of them, when they come up here, I was just speaking with ladies not here at the moment, but when they come up here, they notice there's a difference, you know, that there's not that hub of conversation where you actually have to say something and you have to, you know, there's sort of like you're always searching for friendship and trying to establish yourself. That's sort of like peer pressure down, you know, at the village, and it's all to do with passion and you know, what they're conditioned to do. But when you come up here, there's a sort of relaxation because we're at peace, because we actually know Krishna's in control, and we've let Krishna control our lives. And they notice that, the sincere people, and they say, well, you know, I've tried it down there, can I try it up here? I want to go a little bit further on my own sort of path of self-realization. That is very, very prominent there. You can see that. So, doing the right thing. Thank you for your questions. Jai, all boys to Srila.